this video, I'm going to be reviewing Psychonauts. If you want to watch my playthrough of Psychonauts 1, it is available on the VODS YouTube channel, which will probably be linked in the description. Let's start the review. Psychonauts is a near-flawless masterpiece. In a nutshell, Psychonauts is a platformer with extremely easy and simple combat. I don't think it's that big of a deal that the combat is very easy and very simplistic, because the emphasis is more on the platforming, and the platforming is done well despite the fact that it's also very easy and simplistic. It is still well executed. You have some powers in the game, like shooting lasers out of your head, a balloon that makes you jump higher than normal, and you can glide with it, invisibility, shield, and other powers. I think the thing that makes this game unique is the atmosphere, because this whole game is about throwing a door on someone's head and going inside their mind. You explore their mental disorder, how they perceive the world and the events going on inside their mind, and their life story. My favorite mind is Boyd Cooper, because I think seeing how warped his perception of reality was made his mind the most interesting. In the Milkman conspiracy theory level, you'll see a lot of eyes watching you, and you'll see a lot of cameras taking pictures of you. At least I'm pretty sure there was a lot of cameras. I might be wrong on the number of cameras, but there was definitely cameras taking pictures of you. You also see a lot of these detectives called G-men roaming around the level looking for the Milkman. You also see that gravity is not always consistent between each section of the land, meaning that you have to jump from one piece of land to the other because it's not connected and the gravity's not the same. I think you get what I mean. There's not any other mine in the game that is similar to Boyd's mine, but to give another example of a level I liked, and to be clear, I thought all the mines were great, and I'm just giving a couple of examples, but I think the angular fish mine was wacky. I thought it was wacky because the whole level is about you being a giant and running around with a T-Rex pose and wrecking a small city with fish people. I thought it was wacky and fun. I want to talk about the boss fights next. Boss fights aren't super deep or hard at all, but they do have the bare minimum depth, so they aren't just boring, and I think at the bare minimum, people would probably find it serviceable at the bare minimum. To give an example, I'm going to use the boss from the Milkman conspiracy theory. You have to walk up like 10 steps and use your shield to block the laser coming at you, and then smack the boss. The second phase, you have to use that one ability to see in the eyes of the boss since the lights get turned off. Another example of a boss fight I'm going to use is the one from the lungfish level. You have to dodge the boss's attacks, which consist of him shooting lasers at you and him like sprinting towards you, kind of. It's like it's sprinting. We're gonna call it sprinting, and you can use your shield to block them, or you can like run out of the way of the attacks, and you'll eventually get openings to attack the boss to just kind of slap him. I'm not going to spoil any more of the boss fights in this video, but I think you get the idea of how the boss fights in this game have bare minimum depth, so they aren't just boring, but still are at the very least fun. A quick thing I want to mention is that I think this game has good voice acting. There's not really any way to describe voice acting, so I'm just going to need you to trust me on that. I'm going to mention some negative points next. The first big negative point I have for this game is that you need to buy a cobweb duster. This thing allows you to pick up cobwebs, and it's a requirement to have it in the Milkman conspiracy theory level, otherwise you won't be able to finish the level. And I'm pretty sure it's also like a requirement throughout the rest of the game as well. I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's also a requirement from every level after that going forwards. You have to buy it out of a shop, but first you have to buy this metal detector so that you can find money to be able to buy the cobweb duster. I just spent an hour using the metal detector to get enough money to buy the cobweb duster. I know that like the amount of time spent digging up money is probably gonna be different for everybody depending on like their RNG, but I don't like the amount of time I had to spend grinding for money to buy this required item. The next somewhat big negative point I have is that there's these swinging poles in the game that you have to jump to and swing on from pole to pole, and jumping to the first pole is a pain because the camera screws you over thinking you're lined up with the pole, and it looks like you should have made the jump, but you didn't. The same issue occurs waters with figments that are moving around in the air or just in midair at all. The reason I said this is a somewhat big and negative point is because there's not a whole lot of pole jumps in the game, so you don't have to deal with that problem a whole lot. This is a minor negative point, but I don't like how transparent the figments are. It's like the opacity for them was set to 99 out of 100. I'm counting this as a minor negative point because it's not that big of an issue, but I still wanted to point it out anyways. It's time to give the score. I'm giving Psychonauts a 5 out of 5. I imagine some of you are wondering why I gave this game a 5 out of 5 when I mentioned negative points about it. The reason why is because the negative points are not insanely huge, besides like the pole jumping, but even then it's not that big of an issue because there's not that many pole jumps in the game, and the other negative points I mentioned are also not huge negative points. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I think Psychonauts is a near flawless masterpiece, and if I only gave 5 out of 5 to a game, movie, or show that has no negative points, then I wouldn't be giving anything a 5 out of 5. I'm excited to play Psychonauts 2 on stream over at twitch.tv/MRZ_20. Link will be in the description. That's about it. See ya.